You can judge a man by his friends, and you can judge a man by his enemies. And oh my, do you, as a fan of this program, have some mighty powerful enemies? The biggest, spookiest enemy of them all this afternoon stepped out of the shadows. Who would have seen this coming? It's almost like somebody thought if we needle him a little bit, they might lose control of themselves. Yes. I don't know who might have done that. Maybe Jimmy Stewart was right about Mr. Potter.
Anyway, my father didn't think so. People were human beings to him, but to you, a warped, frustrated old man, they're cattle. Well, in my book, he died a much richer man than you'll ever be.
You know, it's really weird because the warped, frustrated old man, who could that be? I have an incredible update on George Soros next. Hello, America. I was going to do a show on this. We found out there are only 2 copies of these that we can at least find. One is in the archives down in Washington, D.C., and the other was sent in by a viewer, and it is amazing. We had the whole show put together, and while I was out today, I get an email. I get an email about something that George Soros has done today. Get out of here, George. Were you thinking of me? You're so thoughtful. If you missed yesterday's show, George Soros didn't. Where were you? He's only the richest, most powerful man on the planet. What were you doing? I laid this out on the chalkboard yesterday, and it all always starts with spooky dude, Mr. George Soros, blah, blah. His Open Society Institute gave the Tides Foundation $4.2 million in 2008. Now, the Tides Foundation, you know this if you're a fan of the show, originally headed by Drummond Pike. Tides is a group responsible for running the anti-propaganda, capitalist propaganda Story of Stuff with Annie Leonard. Oh, and they're doing more stuff because schools weren't enough. Now they're doing it in churches. But wait, there's more. We'll tell you next week. Tides also funds groups like Van Jones Group, Green for All, and the Apollo Alliance, which helped write that stimulus package. Who else have they donated to? Well, the Center for American Progress, you know, where they launder people and come up with the plans for America that just happen, coincidentally. They also have funded Acorn and the Acorn Institute, Acorn International, latest project, funding the Huffington Post Investigative Fund to, quote, create one of the largest investigative newsrooms in the country. Boo. That's great, isn't it? Yeah. I explained all that yesterday, and I explained to you, or tried to, it has nothing to do with the election. All of the money and the power represented here is for after the election. It's the uber progressives. They are going to take the right out in one fell swoop. I believe they've looked back to 1946, when America had enough of the Democrats and the progressive movement, and didn't go well in those 2 years in between the elections, and Republicans didn't see the light of day for 30 years. You're being set up, America. Your way of life is at stake, and it is time that your neighbors stand up and use the most powerful weapon you have, your voice. I wanted to make sure I connected that last word with your voice because, see, groups like MoveOn.org or MediaMatters, they take things out of context all the time. Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy, but that's the way they work. Which brings me to the press release from MediaMatters. It's great. George Soros announces his, capital letters, first ever contribution to MediaMatters. Despite years of right-wing lies, Soros has never before donated to MediaMatters. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, man. It goes on to say that From the moment in early 2009 that Roger Ailes enlisted Glenn Beck to the Fox News Channel's New Agenda, a battle to overturn 2008 election results? No, I don't want to overturn. I just want to expose on what's really going on and the shadowy, spooky organizations. That's it. That's it. Anyway, so they now have, MediaMatters now has $1 million. Now, there's never been a check with George Soros' signature on it to MediaMatters. No. He has to launder it through these organizations over here. Now, they've been trying to get him to give money for 6 years, and this is the first time. So MediaMatters, let me just say this first. You're welcome. Okay? Now he's on board officially. Now you can just all the way out in the open. You're welcome. I mean, usually you have to be like, what organization does it have to be funneled to? Come on, can't he just write it directly? No, now he can. Soros started the Open Society Institute that funnels the money to Tides. After MediaMatters was formed in 2004 with the help of the Center for American Progress, it was later admitted, quote, that early support from MoveOn.org and the New Democratic Network, coincidence, that Soros gave $5 million to MoveOn.org, which just started to boycott this show last week. George, are we keeping you up at night? Who needs your sleep? You gotta get a little sleepy because you're an old man. Now, let's not forget the group Democracy Alliance. It's a nonprofit umbrella organization. Love that. They advise big spenders where to donate their money. Well, let's look who sits on the board. This is great. This is, do we have a picture of Michael? Michael Vachon. Can we get a picture of Michael? Don't worry, Michael. We'll have one for you. He's currently George Soros' political advisor. Guess who else? Drummond Pike, the former head of Tides. In 2006, it was reported that Democracy Alliance steered at least $6 million to MediaMatters. So there they are. There they are in the shadows. But now they can step right out into the direct sunlight. They've been hiding until now. Isn't it feel better now? Don't you feel freer, George? Be like, yeah, this is who I am. Yeah. Now, as you're waiting for your money to pour in, let me ask you this. How does Soros collapse an economy? Well, he usually writes an op-ed or, a press release or something, and then he just waits for people to follow him, as they always do. He's a bazillionaire. That's how he collapses economies. So you see, it's not really MediaMatters, and you can thank me later. It's not just $1 million, because he's got a lot of sheep that'll be like, and they'll go, and he gave $1 million. I got to do it. It's great. Wait a minute, I just thought of something. Somebody should start their own political action committee. Don't you think? Picking on by George Soros. Man, the most powerful man in the... I'll get back to you on that. Okay, so we're talking about George Soros and his big dollars and spooky dude. Come to think of it, George, may I ask, $1 million? That's it? Not worth more than $1 million? You know what's weird? This press release is almost like a wanted dead or alive poster, isn't it? Gee, Mr. Soros, you're not inciting violence over there towards me. You're not making me public enemy #1, are you? I hope not, Mr. Soros, but I'll make sure to track down all of that violence. I'm worried. Somebody says something like this and some nutjob could go violent and just... Am I safe in here? Apparently, I got so much under George Soros' skin that after 6 years of hiding his money trail, yesterday I invite him on this show to talk to me for free. And what does he do? He writes a $1 million check. Just offering him free television time makes him say, "Get him!" Wow. I should have thought of that one earlier. Hey, I got to go back to that Jimmy Stewart movie. Watch this. Come on. What?
You once called me a warped, frustrated old man. What are you with a warped, frustrated young man? Miserable little clerk crawling in here on your hands and knees and begging for help. No securities, no stocks, no bonds, nothing but a miserable little $500 equity in a life insurance policy. You're worth more dead than alive. But I tell you what I'm going to do for you, George. Since the state examiner is still here, as a stockholder of the building and loan, I'm going to swear out a warrant for your arrest.
Wow. Mr. Potter. Is that you? I can't tell the two of you apart anymore. America, George Soros is buying up your whole damn town. Yesterday, we told you the Tides Foundation is funding the Huffington Post investigative arm. That's the arm that says, get 'em. Then, like Soros is funding now MediaMatters, you have Soros basically announcing today, get 'em. And then you have a new get 'em department at NPR. $1.8 million to buy 100 journalists, again, funded by George Soros. So really, this wanted poster, dead or alive, is really only $3 or $4 million of his money. We don't know how much money Tides has given to the Huffington Post Investigative Fund. They like to keep their donors anonymous. Check their website. That's weird because nobody's saying that in the press when the president is saying about shadow organizations, buying elections and stuff. They're not buying elections only, they're buying journalists. NPR, MediaMatters, now they're wide out in the open. Doesn't it feel better to be in the open space in the sunshine? Hey, I read someplace sunshine is the best disinfectant. Will you come on the show and let's talk this out? America, when a country or a regime or a warped, frustrated old man is in collapse, that is when they become unpredictable and dangerous. Mr. Soros, I will again offer you an hour on this program. Just you and me having a conversation. You see, your people have all said that I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I don't know anything. I can't hold my own. I'm just a shill. I'm just a Mormon. I'm whatever it is. You keep saying that. So you'll clearly be able to outthink me, and you'll clearly be the guy who will win. I don't know why I'm even thinking about doing it, but I'm going to offer you 1 hour on this program. The reason why is because I think we should have an open dialogue, sir. You see, in 10 days, I'm going to have a dialogue that I don't think you want people to have, really. I don't think you want me to say the things that have been transpiring. You know what I'm saying? America doesn't know yet. Don't worry, America. You'll know it within 10 days. But I think maybe you should come on this show so we can have that talk together. Call me. I know you have my number. How do I know? Well, it kind of ties into the thing that I'm going to be talking about within the next 10 days. The most dangerous time in a regime's collapse or in a regime's life is when it's in collapse. For the past 6 years, Soros wouldn't admit even giving money to MediaMatters. He just had to launder it. But now, the heat from a 5 p.m. show is so hot that in a moment of Potterism, he says, get in! Is your regime so fragile that a 5 p.m. gnat can break it all apart? Mr. Soros, you should check yourself before you wreck yourself.